Okay, we can take a look at this. Again, we haven't looked at spirit science in a bit. We watched their first episode of Conspiracy Theory of Everything. It got a little dry. This is episode 2. Let's see if it's any better.
This is where our conspiracy theory of everything is going to get dark. And I mean really dark. In the disconnection of the soul, the ego runs rampant, and this is the source of our suffering, and how we are controlled by the elite. For this, I must offer you a warning. We must be aware of the horrific nature of humanity if there is to be any healing done. Light must be brought to darkness, and the darkness must be faced if we ever wish to solve our problems for good.
Belsthar points out, trigger warning everyone, there's some sexual violence talk in here. Good to know. So warning, I guess that's going to be part of this video?
Warned that the following contains mature subject matter and may offend some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. There is a sickness deep in the heart of human consciousness, a putrid evil that is running rampant through the underbelly of modern society, rarely seen or discussed in public, but is the ultimate source of all of our misery, our suffering. This evil masks itself on the surface appearance of the world, with the pretense that everything is okay.
Is this metaphorical? Or they literally think that evil is a detectable material thing that is somehow making people do bad?
Life is good, and look at all of the fun that we're having. However, this illusion is as false a reality as the demiurge, and in fact, they are simply a reflection of each other. As above, so below. This evil takes its roots on many levels, and one of the darkest ways that it manifests is in the form of sexual energy manipulation and pedophilia. Jeffrey Epstein was the first public domino, a sick and twisted figure, or soulless ego if you will, who arranged and organized a large sex trafficking ring of women and girls, often underage, abusing them and forcing them to have sex not just with him, but with other high-profile individuals. Most notably was Prince Andrew of the British royal family, with an accusation from a woman named Virginia Roberts that Epstein forced her to have sex with the prince on at least 3 separate occasions. The overwhelming evidence suggests that Prince Andrew is guilty, and he nearly incriminated himself during his BBC interview, attempting to
Did you guys see that interview? It was wild.
Respond to these allegations. In the interview, Prince Andrew claimed that his final meeting with Epstein was purely to tell him, "I am cutting off contact with you," and then proceeded to stay at Epstein's place for 3 days while young women were observed being brought into and out of the home repeatedly during that time. When questioned why he stayed there for 3 days, he claimed that it was purely a convenient location to stay while he was in town, and never saw any of these women, despite a claim that observed him getting a foot massage from a young woman inside the house during that time.
That's honestly the dumbest claim he made in that interview, too. And, like, you know, QAnon conspiracies aside, Prince Andrew did know Jeffrey Epstein and probably partook of, you know. Anyway, the claim that, like, it was a convenient place for him to stay, you're a part of the British royal family. You're one of the richest people on the planet. Everywhere is a convenient place for you to stay. Book the nicest room at the nicest hotel in the city. You don't even have to personally do it. Tell your assistant or whoever, hey, get me a nice hotel room, and they'll get it for you in probably an hour. The idea that it was just convenient for him to stay with Jeffrey Epstein is incredibly stupid.
Epstein was a domino, revealing a much larger sex trafficking ring that is going on worldwide, as we know definitively that Bill Clinton himself had been to Epstein Island Jeffrey's favorite place to take and rape young women. Bill had been there at least 20 times, and Hillary Clinton had been there at least 6, along
Are we gonna talk about Trump, too? A lot of asshole rich people were probably in on this shit.
with a notable list of high-profile individuals who have also visited this remote island in the Virgin Islands. The question then is, how big and how deep does this really go? If Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, was this heavily involved with Epstein, who else might be connected with this network of pedophiles and rapists? The Epstein scandal was akin to tripping over something big, and it's up to all of us to pull back the curtains and reveal what's really going on. The stories and conspiracy theories around this go very deep, suggesting that at the highest level, the ruling elite of the world sustain themselves on the energy of the innocent.
Okay, we just went off the deep end into QAnon stuff. Look, child trafficking is absolutely a thing. Young people being taken advantage of and assaulted by older people in power in both Hollywood and by the rich everywhere, absolutely a thing. The idea that they're doing it for energy or for adrenochrome or whatever bullshit conspiracy thing you've come up with is so stupid. No, they're just gross, horny people who've decided to take that out on children. That's it. It's just that. It's a sexual gratification thing. They're fucking sick, and they're pedophiles, and they act out on that because they have the money to do so and get away with it. It's not some magical energy thing. It's not for some secret chemical. They're pedophiles and they're horny. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. But that's the reality of the situation. Adding a whole bunch of conspiracy nonsense to it makes you sound like a jackass, and it actually hurts recognition of actual child trafficking that happens when you try and add all this nonsense to it. It's ridiculous.
That pedophilia and rape gives an individual a high, taking one's purity, shattering one's innocence, and giving them a feeling of power and authority over others through horrifying sexual energy manipulation. But this isn't even the worst part, with stories of adrenochrome, a compound formed by the oxidation of adrenaline in the body, formed naturally when we experience extreme fear and stress.
Again, the adrenochrome thing is incredibly stupid. Adrenochrome is a byproduct of adrenaline being used in your brain. You don't need to get it from people. You can synthesize adrenochrome in the lab very easily and cheaply. It's very stupid. On top of that, people who have taken it recreationally, of course synthetic, because you don't need to get it from a person, have said it's awful. They've said it's horrifying. It's not something you would want to take recreationally for funsies.
The pervading theory on the internet suggests that the ruling elite of the world use children in insidious rituals.
Hold on.
Torturing them, draining their blood, extracting the adrenochrome, and injecting it within themselves.
Yeah, ritual child abuse on the bingo card, but I think we already had Satanism, which is on that as well, so.
Providing them with heightened energy and the appearance of youthfulness, among other things. It should be known that adrenochrome first made it big due to Aldous Huxley's 1954 book, The Doors of Perception, discussing the nature of adrenochrome, and was later referenced in Hollywood movies including A Clockwork Orange with Adrenochrome, as well as in the film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which many suggest is the true origin of this theory. However, while it may be easy to dismiss this idea, there are certain anomalies that stand out when investigating this material. The biggest may very well be the conspiracies and scandals surrounding Hillary Clinton, and a particular laptop previously owned by former US politician Anthony Weiner. On November 4th, 2016, Eric Prince appeared on Breitbart Radio, and he outlined the discoveries
Wow, Breitbart is a source.
on the Weiner laptop that was being blocked by Attorney General Lynch. He said that they found a lot of really damning criminal information, including money laundering and the fact that Hillary went to the sex island with Jeffrey Epstein.
Wow, someone on Breitbart said it, so it's gotta be true. Look, I'd believe that Bill Clinton. I totally get that. Absolutely. I don't think Hillary Clinton was involved in that particular thing. I'll put it that way.
Sidney Powell at Hillsdale College called out the FBI.
Oh my god. They're citing Sidney the Kraken Powell. Oh god.
Claiming that there is a lot that can be prosecuted there, and that some of the police officers who initially were investigating the laptop saw some things that made them have to go and throw up. Shortly after that, the NYPD chief who was directly involved in Anthony Weiner's laptop case killed himself. Or at least, so the story goes. Then again, the official story is that Epstein killed himself. However, investigations into the nature of his death calls all of this into question, essentially suggesting that his death was not a suicide, but rather that he had information that he could have used to prosecute many high-level individuals, and someone shut him up before he had the chance to speak. As far as Hillary's emails go, many claimed that certain code words were being used consistently to refer to children for use in strange and mysterious events. Of course, the conspiracy gets even darker from there, suggesting that at the highest level, the control and manipulation of our species may even come from a non-human source, those of a reptilian nature.
Do we have reptilians on the bingo card? Hold on, let me check. Reptoids, yeah, reptilians. Bingo on the bingo card.
The theory suggests that Epstein was merely one messed up pawn in a much larger game of controlling and influencing the world order.
Question: why are reptilians interested in pedophilia? They would be reptilians. They would be aliens. Why would they care? Why would they be interested in children specifically? Why are reptiles pedophiles? Is it 'cause they kind of rhyme? Is the slant rhyme the reason? Reptile, pedophile. This week on Fox, the brand new hit sitcom, Reptile Pedophile.
Theories range as to whether or not these reptilians are physical shapeshifters, non-physical entities who control people's minds, or a scapegoat theory for something else entirely. The idea itself was illustrated very well in the movie They Live.
Oh my god. Misunderstanding They Live should be on the bingo card. They Live is about how capitalism is bad. It is not about reptoids literally controlling the world. Watch the movie and stop taking it literally.
Showing people as weird aliens who used a particular signal from a radio tower to mask their appearance from the public, but were otherwise living among us and enslaving our mass consciousness. And you can watch our video breakdown of this movie right here on our channel. Nevertheless, the ones pulling all of the strings today are generally called the Deep State, the manipulative group controlling human consciousness.
There's the Deep State on the bingo card.
But with that, the mysteries of who is behind all of this aside, how exactly do the world elite control human consciousness?
Deep State. Where's the Deep State? There we go.
Due to the sheer volume of control mechanisms, here we're going to provide a lighter overview, and you are encouraged to explore these as you see fit. Fear and scarcity. At the highest level of control, fear is one of the most easiest methods to control
The most easiest. Good job. Maybe get an editor.
population in mass. This is a two-way street that binds the influence from the elite and us together, for we actively perpetuate the problem when we live from fear and scarcity, spreading it around to each other like a nasty virus. Fear can be used to corral people in all manner of directions, to take actions that are not in their best interest, or to give up their power and control to others. Our food. For the most part, all of the food that we're eating today is toxic, designed to subdue our creative energy, making us easily addicted to things that are unhealthy for us.
This chicken sandwich has subdued my creative energy. Oh no, I accidentally clicked on the...
Whether
Whoopsie.
it's processed foods, rich with salt, sugar, and fat, or even our produce, which has been chemically engineered or sprayed with pesticides and herbicides.
I prefer foods that have been completely eaten out by insects. Yummy.
We can see this with Monsanto, who have actually patented seed and GMO production, disallowed the ancient practice of saving seeds, and ultimately controlled the food supply, but have masked it as providing the world food. We recently published a movie called Healing Your Body with Food, Spirit Science 33, which reveals the truth about food and where it comes from today. So we won't get super deep into it here, because there is a lot to cover. But if you want to go deeper into this, please watch that movie after this one is done. Ultimately though, the bottom line here appears to be that we are what we eat, and most of us eat far too much, and in that, consume too many harmful substances.
People definitely eat too much in America. I just saw an article the other day that something like 70% of Americans are overweight or obese. I'm one of them. Yeah, people definitely eat too much and eat too many calorie-dense foods with little nutrition, but, like, it's not a nefarious plot. It's companies trying to sell you things to make money. Again, it's a capitalism problem.
Fluoride in the water.
Ah,
Some have said that fluoride is the metaphorical tears of the New World Order.
fluoride is the tears of the New World Order. Cool.
And that it's their most
Or it just helps, you know, protect your teeth. I'm gonna go with that one.
widely used weapon against us. The idea, in a nutshell, is that governments put fluoride in our water supply in order to negatively affect huge populations and facilitate mass control.
No. No, it's not. Fluoride's perfectly safe for you to drink in your tap water. It's fine. It just helps your, like, enamel on your teeth. It's fine.
Whether for financial gain through the health defects that it causes, or for the purpose of disrupting our connection to the spiritual planes. Any quick search of a fluoride
Please, I'd love to see the study where you think fluoride is disconnecting you from the spiritual plane, whatever that means.
conspiracy brings up notions that it calcifies the pineal gland, the organ in our brain that is often linked to consciousness and the third eye. The idea of the pineal gland being linked with consciousness originally came from the French philosopher Descartes, who argued that the interaction between non-local consciousness and the physical world occurred inside of it.
Okay, he was a philosopher, not a scientist.
That's right, capitalistic propaganda.
Like, pineal gland stuff is straight out of They Live, the movie. There's no evidence to my knowledge that's conclusive that says consciousness comes from the pineal gland.
If you dig into why water fluoridation began, you find a convoluted, suspicious mess, mostly centering around the aluminum production company Alcoa.
Let's take a look. Fluoride in water. Let's see if there's a Wikipedia article or something on it. History. Achievements in Public Health, 1999, fluoridization of drinking water to prevent dental caries. Fluoridation of community drinking water is a major factor responsible for the decline in dental caries, tooth decay during the second half of the 20th century. The history of water fluoridation, or fluoridation, rather, is a classic example of clinical observation leading to epidemiologic investigation and community-based public health intervention. Although other fluoride-containing products are available, water fluoridation remains the most equitable and cost-effective method of delivering fluoride to all members of most communities, regardless of age, educational attainment, or income level. History of water fluoridation. Soon after the establishing his dental practice in Colorado Springs, Colorado in 1901, Dr. Frederick McKay noted an unusual permanent stain or mottled enamel termed Colorado brown stain by area residents on the teeth of many of his patients. After years of personal field investigations, McKay concluded that an agent in the public water supply probably was responsible for mottled enamel. McKay also observed that teeth affected by this condition seemed less susceptible to dental caries. Dr. F.L. Robertson, a dentist in Bauxite, Arkansas, noticed the presence of mottled enamel among children after a deep well was dug in 1909 to provide a local water supply. A hypothesis that something in the water was responsible for mottled enamel led local officials to abandon a well in 1927. In 1930, H.B. Churchill, a chemist in the Aluminum Company of America, an aluminum manufacturing company that had bauxite mines in the town, used a newly available method of spectrographic analysis that identified high concentrations of fluoride, parts per million, 13.7 parts per million. In the water of abandoned well. Fluoride, the ion of the element fluorine, almost universally is found in soil and water, but generally in very low concentrations, less than 1 parts per million. On hearing the new analytic method, McKay sent water samples to Churchill from areas where mottled enamel was endemic. These samples contained high levels of fluoride, 2 to 12 parts per million. The identification of possible etiologic agent for mottled enamel led to the establishment in 1931 of the Dental Hygiene Unit at the National Institute of Health, headed by Dr. Treadley Dean. Dean's primary responsibility was to investigate the association between fluoride and mottled enamel. Blah, 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 blah. You get it. They figured this shit out, and then they started doing it. That doesn't seem that complicated.
Who supposedly had a lot of toxic waste to spare that took the form of fluoride as a byproduct of aluminum production. After a single biochemist who was sponsored by them showed in a lab that fluoride affects cavities in rats in 1939, so the story goes, the first public proposal that the US should fluoridate its water supplies were made, not by a doctor, but by an industry scientist.
Okay, he's a scientist, and it's been studied since then as well. It's fine.
Nowadays, our water is fluoridated in over 24 countries, mostly in the Western world. According to chemist and researcher Charles E. Perkins...
Let me see if I have... Hold on. Fluoride is a naturally occurring element which is added to City of Saginaw drinking water to prevent tooth decay. Delicious fluoride.
Who wrote the book The Truth About Water Fluoridation, repeated doses of infinitesimal amounts of fluoride will in time...
Someone has bingo? Let me check the card. Who said bingo? Link me your card so I can check it if you have bingo, whoever it is. Bengay Pride. It just linked me to this. You gotta link me to, like, you gotta go up into this and then your actual bingo card, like, URL at the top of this page, just copy paste it, because you just sent me a link to the general bingo, which takes me here.
That's right, capitalistic propaganda.
Reduce an individual's ability to resist domination by slowly poisoning a certain area of the brain, thus making them submissive to the will of those who wish to govern them. While there are unsupported theories that the Nazis used the chemical in concentration camps,
oh, are we really going there? I need, like, this one. This link right there at the top. If you just copy paste that, then I can look at your bingo card. Bengay.
or the USSR in their gulags, the threat of fluoride isn't just a theory. The work of Jennifer Luke in the 90s showed that by old age, the pineal gland contains the same amount of fluoride as teeth, having been calcified as we age. Further, a huge review on fluoride toxicity published by the National Research Council in 2006 reported a range of negative side effects.
Thank you, Bengay Pride. Let me take a look. There we go. Thinly veiled anti-Semitism. We did not get thinly veiled anti-Semitism, actually, because it was not thinly veiled. It was just anti-Semitism. So that's actually not a bingo. Close, though. Close. The Nathan Thompson thing didn't end up counting because it was just blatant anti-Semitism. It wasn't thinly veiled.
From fluoride, including decreased melatonin production and other effects on normal pineal function, which in turn could contribute to a variety of bad effects in humans. In fact, studies...
How thin does the veil have to be? It has to exist. He wasn't hiding it at all. Oh, it's okay, Bengay Pride. That's fine. That's what we check it for. He basically just said he thinks that Jewish people are controlling the world and that, like, it's nefarious. It wasn't thinly veiled at all. It was just straight up anti-Semitism.
From Harvard and China's Shanghai Health Institute may even have linked fluoride to reduced IQ in children and even suggest that it could be toxic to a developing brain.
What we have in the bingo card right now is someone doesn't understand how cameras work, word salad, reptoids, deep state, satanic child abuse, flat earth, and spurious symbology. Did I say deep state? We should also have deep state. Yeah, I have the deep state. See ya, Daddy Sume. Thanks for coming to the stream.
There's nothing
As well
funny
as
about
being
the
linked
tools
to
of
certain types of
capitalism.
cancer, it's also been shown to destroy the male reproductive system in rabbits. The bottom...
Good thing human beings aren't rabbits. Let's see. Fluoride. Safe? Question mark? Countries that do not fluorinate their water have also seen big drops in the rate of cavities. Since the mid-1940s, compounds containing the mineral fluoride have been added to community water supplies throughout the U.S. to prevent tooth decay. Health concerns expressed by opponents have largely been dismissed until recently. Now evidence is mounting that in an era of fluoridated toothpaste and other consumer products that boost dental health, the potential risks for consuming fluoridated water may outweigh the benefits for some individuals. Last summer, for the first time in 53 years, the U.S. Public Health Service lowered its recommendation levels of fluoride in drinking water. That's interesting, considering we live in an era of toothpaste and stuff that is fluoridated. Like they said, I guess it might be redundant. So I could see that, but I don't think it's necessarily dangerous for you.
Bottom line is, the benefit to risk ratio on water fluoridation is unclear due to a lack of good evidence, with most people not even knowing that they're drinking it. If the conspiracy theories are to be believed, professors doing this research have been met with numerous attempts to discredit them. Stephen Peckham, director...
Every researcher faces attempts to discredit them. That's how peer review works.
...of the Centre for Health Services at the University of Kent and professor at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine at the University of Toronto, has had his research of water fluoridation rejected from dental health journals.
It probably sucks then? It probably sucks. People get their research denied from getting put in journals all the time. It isn't a conspiracy. Maybe their research is just bad.
He's even spoken out about being accused of statistics hacking and for research that made the link between fluoride and hypothyroidism. It seems as though someone does not want this info getting out. Entertainment and subliminal messaging. The entertainment industry has been a source of conspiracies for a long time, with often disturbing subliminal messages in children's entertainment, such as references to suicide and sex found in everything from Disney movies to SpongeBob. But it often goes deeper and darker. The entertainment industry, especially Disney, has seen several instances of hiring young children, making them into massive celebrities, making a fortune off of them, and driving them insane. This is...
Yeah, becoming a celebrity at a young age isn't good for your mental health, as it turns out.
Also happened with the K-pop industry, with their so-called slave contracts that forced the young singers into decades of servitude, having them work endless hour days and running them to the point of exhaustion. There are actually many instances of these young singers collapsing on stage due to exhaustion. This also links back to the conversation of pedophilia networks, for many celebrities have now spoken out about how bad Hollywood really is for pedophilia, including people like Brad Pitt, Elijah Wood, Evan Rachel Wood, and Corey Feldman.
Yeah, again, like I said, child trafficking and child abuse in general is a serious problem. Wherever there's power dynamics involved, and Hollywood is a good example where you have casting directors or agents or whoever in the industry who have the potential to make or break your career, then you are going to feel, because of the power differential, more inclined to shut up if you are abused, right? We saw the same thing in the Catholic Church with their child sex abuse scandals. Basically, whenever there's an adult who has a ton of power over a child, that kind of thing tends to run rampant. It's a problem. But when you wrap this stuff up in a bunch of QAnon bullshit, then it discredits the actual problem. And that's not good. Like, we need to address, like, actual child predators. That's an issue that needs to be addressed. But by wrapping it in this, like, adrenochrome, like, fluoride is evil, all this sort of nonsense, all you do is make people look at a real-world problem, child predators, and not take it seriously. You're hurting the cause by doing this, and it's pretty disgusting.
The news. The news often perpetuates a story that things are bad and getting worse. There is a consistent theme.
You're literally doing the same thing. At the beginning of this video, you literally were like, everything's bad and it's getting worse.
From the news of toxicity. And as people watch this in mass, we come to believe it, and thus perpetuate it. The people running the news command more attention by spreading this kind of information because bad news gets more attention than positive stories, and therefore, we continue to create this reality. When you're constantly looking at the world in a negative light, you are not looking at your own light. In fact, you don't even know that there is light within you. There is only darkness, shadows, and frightening imagery. And so what happens? But humanity falls further and further into a world of self-created delusion. It's also worth mentioning that even the local news is ultimately both written for and controlled by a unified source, regardless of the network. Just watch this clip and you'll see how bad it really is.
Our country.
The sharing of...
This is a clip from, oh god, what's the name of the company? I'm forgetting the name. But there's a conservative news organization that basically bought up and continues to buy up a ridiculous number of local news networks. And it is not good. Sinclair, that's the name, thank you. Sinclair has been buying up tons of local news networks all around the country to try and push messaging that they think is good.
And false news has become all too common on social media.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets
That's right, capitalistic propaganda.
without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Mass surveillance. The Medal of Honor for revealing this really goes to Edward Snowden, The whistleblower who brought to the collective attention how the Secret Service of the US and UK governments had the ability to spy on literally everyone,
I thought it was Homeland Security.
tracking metadata, watching everywhere that you go, and what you're up to. The first program to be revealed was PRISM, which allows for court-approved direct access to
NSA,
Americans'
my bad.
Google and Yahoo accounts and everything in them. Then came Tempora, a British Black Ops surveillance program run by the NSA's British partner, GCHQ. This includes stuff like call databases, numbers, text messages, and even a secret court order requiring Verizon to hand the NSA millions of Americans' phone records daily. One of Snowden's most frightening statements came in 2013, when he explained that by using the X-Keyscore program, I, sitting at my desk, could wiretap anyone, from you or your accountant, to a federal judge or even the president, if I had a personal email. The NSA's top-secret black budget, obtained by Snowden, exposed the successes and failures of over 16 spy agencies comprising the US intelligence community, and revealed that the NSA was paying US private tech companies for clandestine access to their communications networks. All in all, it was revealed that the NSA was harvesting millions of emails and instant messaging contact lists, searching email content, tracking and mapping the location of cell phones, undermining attempts at encryption via Bull Run, and that the agency was using cookies to piggyback on the same tools used by internet advertisers to pinpoint targets for government hacking and to bolster surveillance. And yet, after all of this info being dropped, it has mysteriously disappeared from mainstream discussion. Our belief systems. We do it to ourselves. At some level, we have to take responsibility for ourselves. As easy as it may be to point the finger at the ruling elite, and there's no question, justice must be served, we must also recognize ourselves as a part of the problem through our own beliefs, herd mentality, and lack of mindfulness and unwillingness to strive for wisdom. If we wish to truly be a part of the solution, I know you've heard this before, but it's more serious than ever. Be the change you wish to see in the world. As Bruce Lipton has demonstrated with his groundbreaking work in epigenetics, our very beliefs affect our biological systems in deep and very impactful ways. If we can believe we can live a happy life, then we can. And if we believe that it's impossible, then we actually shut off ourselves and our bodies from receiving and experiencing satisfaction. Further, people will often try and rope their friends into their belief systems in order to validate their own opinions and perspectives. And so what we're dealing with here is a mass field of consciousness that is trying to push its beliefs onto everyone else, and the truth is muddled and lost. Generally speaking, all of this unconsciousness keeps us small, and we do it to ourselves. The collective mindset often appears to lack any interest in education, learning, wisdom, or connecting with truth, and in this may compel us to outrageous levels of stupidity. Now, at some level, we must be able to laugh at ourselves, because humans are notorious for often doing very dumb things. And in today's day and age, these things are often captured on camera and shared for all to see, which fills up Reddit and YouTube channels to no end. For example, scrolling through Reddit's Our What Could Go Wrong channel will bring endless laughter at the ridiculous things that people do every day. Yet, it is also a clear reflection of our lack of ability to generally exercise a higher consciousness on a regular basis. If we really want to evolve, we have to do better. From the very top of the chain to the very bottom, it seems clear that there is a problem. At the beginning of this chapter, we said that there is a sickness running through the underbelly of human consciousness. And while we have explored the idea that this sickness may be perpetuated and inflicted upon us by a demonic consciousness, whether it's sick, twisted psychopaths, a reptilian species, or demonic entities themselves, the truth is that we actively perpetuate it by staying asleep, pessimistic, and disconnected. And such is the nature of this chapter within the conspiracy theory of everything. Upon exploring the spiritual path, we can see that we remain complacent due to the
That's right,
disconnection
capitalistic
of our
propaganda.
souls. For when we live just from the ego, we live as self-centered, materialistic, pleasure-seeking beings who do not actively perceive or care for the search for anything greater. The soul is the voice of truth, love, and compassion within you, the most authentic and highest version of you. It is the eye of awareness within your heart that connects you to
This is so much nonsense. I'm sorry, I'm not saying a lot at this point. I'm so burnt out on this shit.
everything, that sees and knows that all things are connected. However, in mass, there are so many who are disconnected from the soul and don't even believe that it exists. Thus, ideas like this are often ridiculed and demeaned by the masses, which further perpetuates the soulless body of human consciousness running rampant.
Okay. Look. There are problems with society. A lot of it has to do with having a ruling class that has very much and a working class that has very little. There are absolute problems that come out of this, up to and including some of the things you mentioned. Child trafficking, trafficking in general. A lot of these things happen because we effectively have a class of people who are immune from the law. We have people who get away with things because they are so powerful relative to your average person that nothing can touch them, and that is emblematic of problems that we have in not only this country, but in global capitalism as a whole. Stop trying to include nonsense about like adrenochrome and spiritual woo-woo bullshit, and actually look at the material conditions of the world around you and look for solutions based on that reality, raising class consciousness and making sure that people don't have the ability to get so powerful that they become immune to all consequences. That would be a huge step in the right direction. But when you start muddying the waters with this sort of absolute nonsense, all you've done is make it more difficult for people to accurately assess the problems that we face as a species, as a society, whatever you want to say. All you've done is completely bring red herrings into the picture that are just throwing people off the actual issues that we are dealing with.
A body of ego. Obviously, this makes it very easy for the elite to control the collective mind using all of the ways that we've explored, because we are not operating from a state of higher collective consciousness. Rather, we are operating as if we are chickens with our heads cut off. Yet, if even but a glimpse of the soul can be seen, which often happens through lucid dreams, near-death experiences, psychedelic experiences, or other personal transformational revelations, an individual is usually changed forever. It is very difficult to go back to the way things were when you suddenly see and experience within that you are a part of something so much greater than yourself,
AKA, you took a whole shitload of mushrooms.
and that your own thoughts, feelings, and actions have a direct impact on the world around you. How could you go back to being ignorant of this once you know a higher truth? We must be mindful that solving this problem must be taken from both ends of the spectrum. Those who are perpetuating the crimes against humanity, the mass manipulation, the pedophiles, the rapists, the murderers, all of them must be brought to justice. However, if we think this will solve all of our problems, we are sorely mistaken. For if we remain asleep and complacent, we remove one leader and a new one just takes its place, and the cycle continues forever. Thus, the other half of the equation is that we must also take it upon ourselves, each of us, to evolve our way of thinking, to heal the connection with our soul, and to be examples of what it means to be virtuous, soulful, and compassionate. But again, this is only still just the beginning, for our journey of waking up also stands in alignment with the evolution of technology and the introduction of new tech that will forever shape the future as we know it.
Oh, God. It's so exhausting. Why is this in particular so exhausting? Conspiracy theory. How many videos do they have in the conspiracy theory of everything? Let me take a look. Conspiracy theory. Oh, God. That was only part 2, and they're up to part 8. They fit so much bullshit in one video. How much more could there possibly be to cover? Ugh. My hair's all fucky. Moving on. Let me do these bit messages.